There he is. Hey, Alex. Thank you. I'd like to call a meeting to order, the Aquifer Protection Agency of the Town of Enfield regular meeting, May 23rd, 2024. Mr. Secretary. Oh, yeah, please, Mr. Secretary, call the order. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Pledge allegiance. I'm getting ahead of myself. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
Okay. Fire evacuation. If there should be a fire, please evacuate immediately to my left, to your right, or out the back of the building, please, and get away far as away from the building as you can. Now, Mr. Secretary.
Roll
please.
call. Terrence Lynch.
Here.
Linda DeGray.
Here.
John Petronella is here. Francis Alimo.
Here.
Joseph Muley.
Here.
Kenneth Helinski.
Here.
Vinnie Grillo.
Here.
Christian D'Antonio.
Here.
Patrick Hooper is absent. And Walter Crizel.
Here.
Okay. We have one member absent. Number 4 on the agenda is the minutes of the preceding meeting, which was December 21st, 2023, and they're in the packet.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Show of hands. All in favor? Oh, first of all, any discussion to any changes or omissions? No, nothing? Raise a hand to accept the motion of the aquifer protection for December 21st, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
You abstain? Okay, so we have 2 abstentions. What we have, 1, 2, 3, 4. Vinnie was here, that's 5. Linda, 6. We're good. Okay. Minutes were approved. December 21st, 2023, Aquifer Protection Agency. Enforcement officers report.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Public communications and petitions. And I think the same rules apply on these, Aquifer. If there's something on the agenda, it can't be discussed on number 5. But any other thing that anybody would like to come up and talk about Aquifer in general, you can come up now. So is there anybody that would like to talk about the Aquifer Protection Program or Protection Agency in Enfield? Seeing none, we will move on.
No, it's yours.
Continued public hearings, we have none. New public hearings, we have none. We have number 9, old business, we have none. Number 10 on tonight's agenda, new business, we have a couple here. So the first one is ARA number 28318 Hazard Avenue. Mr. Secretary?
Yeah, the applicant, ARA number 318 Hazard Avenue Aquifer application to transfer of ownership of AR number 2021-10-18. Stephen Chase of Chase Realty Holdings, Inc., applicant owner, map 83, lot 269, HVBL zone.
Okay, the applicants are here or are not here?
They are not here.
Okay, just point of order, let the record show that Commissioner
Hooper.
Hooper, sorry, had just arrived. Thank you, Mr. Hooper. Is there anything staff would like to tell us about this application?
Yes, so this was an original approval with DePace Leasing Company back in '08 when the program first came in. The site has maintained their aquifer registration. Mr. DePace renewed it in 2021. And now the property has been sold to a HVAC company who will be taking over the business, and they plan on doing a showroom with an office, so there will be no hazardous materials, no chemicals on site, not a lot of equipment, as it's just for showing off their what they have for their business. We did a site inspection on May 15th at 12:30 in the afternoon. The site is pretty much vacant right now. There's no floor drains, no hazardous materials, no violations, no concerns. It's a pretty clean site. And once they move in, we're going to do a follow-up inspection just to ensure that that compliance remains. And they are wishing to keep the same activities registered as the original business for B, D, and V, even though they are currently not in use. And the Department of Public Health, DEEP, and the water companies have been properly notified of tonight's renewal or transfer.
So that BVD stays with the property? Is that
Yes.
what happens?
So any of the 28 activities, they're valid for any property that hold valid aquifer registration certificates. If in the future Mr. Chase decides he wants to add a new activity that's not currently registered, he would come in for a permit. So if they change an activity, permit. If he's removing an activity, that's fine. That's less intense.
What about if it ever happened to go back to its previous use?
They can do that. That's why they have the original registration. And any of those activities are grandfathered in as long as they hold that valid certificate.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for staff? Okay, this is a hearing, right? No, not a public hearing. Nothing, anybody on this?
No.
There,
No issues.
you have a motion to approve,
Yeah,
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Secretary?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the aquifer registration ownership transfer to Chase Realty Holdings LLC, ARA number 28, 318 Hazard Avenue. Aquifer application for a transfer ownership of AR 2021-10-18 Stephen Chase of Chase Realty Holdings, Inc., applicant owner, map 83, lot 269, HVBL zone.
Second.
Any discussion on this motion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Frank Alimo,
4.
Linda DeGray,
4.
Kenneth Helinski,
4.
Vincent Grillo,
4.
Joseph Muley,
4.
Terrence Lynch,
4.
and John Petronella is 4.
Okay, so it passes. Okay, so we have another one, B, under new business.
Yes, ARA number 29, One Bright Meadow Boulevard Aquifer application for renewal of existing registration. Nikki Olette applicant, Welcome Enfield LLC, owner, map 35, lot 245, BR zone.
Are the applicants present?
They are not.
Okay, can staff enlighten us?
Sure. This is just a simple renewal of their existing registration. All activities are remaining the same. There was a staff inspection conducted on May 15th at 1:30 in the afternoon. We met with the hotel's chief engineer, Jose Ortiz, who showed us around the site. They are continuing their activities of V and D for the accumulation of de-icing chemicals for their pool and waste oil antifreeze for like their lawnmower and site maintenance machines. There are no violations present. The site is very clean. All the storm catch basins are very clean, and the site is well taken care of.
Oops.
And I believe because there's no violations, no site issues, that hopefully this can be acted on tonight instead of being pushed to June.
How long does the permit stay in effect?
5 years for the registrations, and then
Registration.
permits are 10.
I'm sorry, what's 10?
The permits.
The permit, okay.
And the permits give them new activities should they decide to change an activity.
Good. Anyone, any questions for staff on this one? Anyone? Is there a motion to approve?
Yes, motion to approve the aquifer registration renewal request under ARA number 29, One Bright Meadow Boulevard aquifer application for renewal of existing registration. Nikki Olette applicant, Welcome Enfield LLC owner, map 35, lot 245 BR zone with the standard conditions of approval.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion for ARA 29, 1 Bright Meadow Boulevard? Want a roll call?
Okay, yeah. Frank Alamo?
4?
Linda DeGray?
4.
Kenneth Alinsky?
4.
Vincent Grillo? 4. Joseph Muley?
4.
Terrence Lynch?
4.
And John Petronella is 4.
Okay, so that passes as well. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? There's been a second. All in favor, show of hands to adjourn?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Call the meeting to order. Call the meeting of the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission, May 23rd, 2024. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2 is fire evacuation. Should the fire alarm go off or any other emergency, please evacuate the building immediately. To my left, to your right, or out the back door, and proceed as far away from the building as you possibly can. Thank you. Approval of the minutes of May 9th, 2024.
Motion to approve the minutes of May 9th, 2024.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? Changes, amendments? Everything looks good to everybody? Motion to approve, show of hands? Okay, the motion for May 9th minutes are approved.
Better get the roll call in there.
Oh, we didn't get the roll? Oh, Jesus, I'm moving all over the place here. Roll call, sorry
Okay.
about that.
Terrence Lynch,
Here.
Linda DeGray.
There.
John Petronella is here. Francis Alamo.
Here.
Joseph Muley.
Here.
Kenneth Helinski.
Here.
Vinnie Grillo.
Here.
Christian D'Antonio.
Here.
Patrick Hooper.
Here.
And Walter Crizel.
Here.
Okay, everybody's here?
Yep.
Sorry about that. We have anything from the town attorney this evening? Okay. Number 6, the zoning enforcement officer. We have a report from the zoning enforcement officer.
No, not this evening.
Okay. Number 7 is public participation. Anyone in the public can come up at this time to discuss any planning and zoning issues other than what's on tonight's agenda. So if there's anybody that would like to come forward, this is the time to do it. And again, nothing that's on the agenda tonight. For the second time, would anybody like to come up and discuss anything with us or staff? For the third time? Okay. Public participation, number 7 is closed. Bond releases. Do we have any bond releases, staff?
No bond releases.
No bond releases. Number 9, administrative approval, SPR 1936. Staff?
Yes, thank you. So this is just a driving school that's taking over a tenant space in the mall over at 155 Hazard Avenue that's got Gold's Gym in the back. There's plenty of parking there. Students actually are more virtual than they are in class on the site, but then they do go there for driving tests. So we looked at the parking and we felt that was certainly adequate.
Okay, very good. Any questions to staff about this? So it's an administrative approval, which we like when you can do them. Thank you.
We like that too.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move on now to number 10, Director of Planning Report. Lori, if you would, please.
I really don't have much at this point. We're still down to staff members with Rick out on medical leave, and I do have an interview tomorrow for a replacement. Fingers crossed. We have very little applications right now, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah, for summertime.
I mean, usually we're slammed at this time, so it's kind of unusual, but we could use the reprieve for catching up with other things. So that's all.
Does anybody have any questions for staff? Okay, so I have just a couple of things, Lori. So we got the draft zoning changes last week from you, or 2 weeks ago?
Yep.
So is that on the town website as well? Are we able to get
It
up
has
on,
not been placed on the town website.
or planning and zoning website, I should say?
Yeah, Donna is on vacation this week, and she's the one that would do that. She'll be back next week.
Okay, great. So she could do that then. So we talked about, and we all agreed as a board, as a commission, that you were going to put the state requirements or statutes in, and then we were going to start getting into our piece of it.
Correct.
So with that, can you make another section, maybe another color, of any of those state regulations that aren't mandatory or that we can opt out of? Because I remember last time there was some stuff came down, it might have been about some housing. We opt out of it, and then we sent it to the council. And so, and while you're preparing this, can you make another item for that, those issues that we don't have to necessarily do and we could opt out as a community? So we can let.
Right, so, I mean, the opt-out options have expired. So, like, for instance, the parking standards, we could have opted out of that, but we did not. But we did opt out of the accessory dwelling units.
Right, but that was the previous legislative session. What I'm thinking is you're going to be bringing stuff forward from this last legislative session that just
Right.
concluded.
Yeah, okay, so
Right.
you want to know whether there was an opt-out option?
Right, because last time there was.
Right,
Remember, so we opt out of, yeah, right. So I want to make sure that we have a separate line or a separate list or a separate, we have the color, it's all color-coded items from the state that the community doesn't have to accept or can opt out, because there was a process in the opting out. We did a hearing, I think we did a public hearing, we passed it to council. So I just want to avoid that, putting anything in there that's a choice,
okay.
okay? And I want everybody else to chime in, please, if you would. If anybody has anything on that. I kind of just forgot about talking about that because then I remembered what happened last legislative session, because there was opt-outs. Please, Linda.
Because I have been going through it slowly. Hey, it's summer.
It's good if you need to fall asleep.
Yeah. No.
It's good reading.
I have to sit at the table, so I don't do that. I did notice there was some changes that we had made, text changes, that weren't in what we just got, such as the outside dining, where we made changes during COVID. So I'm just saying I just want to make sure that.
I have an answer for you,
Yeah.
Commissioner DeGray. So this is just version 1. It's going to be
Okay.
missing a lot of things.
All right.
We've done this edit. It's been in place for a while now. The only thing that the edits are missing are the newer edits that staff has recently found in the past 6-8 months when Matt was here. So as we move along in the zoning reg edits, there will be more things to add, more edits to make. So this is just the first step. And then as we progress further, there will be more inclusions, like our new text amendments, which are being codified with our town clerk. And then you'll see all those in there as we move along.
Okay. No, I just noticed there was a couple of
That's
things
why
that
it's a
were
draft.
missing, and
Yeah,
it
we're
was
at the
like,
very, very beginning. And eventually we're going to go through public hearings and whatnot. But this is step 1, just getting the draft
Yeah.
out there.
all right, thanks.
Just so we can move it along quickly once you're done with that. And that's kind of what I
Yeah.
was thinking about, because
Yeah.
like right now, outdoor dining isn't as easy as it was when we were under that, correct? That's done,
Right.
right? You can't just, during COVID,
We
everybody
need
was
to
doing
update
it.
that.
Yeah.
That's not in place anymore, right?
The COVID restrictions are not.
And the outside dining provisions, remember
Right.
it was very easy? Those are gone. So if somebody wants outside dining, they can't come in under that anymore.
Right.
So that's exactly, so she's still reading that language in there.
Well, no,
Well, that draft is,
there was a
what, 2
draft,
years
and it
old
was
at this point?
actually, yeah, that was the whole thing. It was
Yeah.
a little behind, and I'm like,
Okay, yeah.
I'm
So-
just kind of curious.
But like I said, we gave it to you. A lot of the commissioners that are on now were not involved at all with this.
Right.
So we just wanted to kind of get you caught up to
Okay.
what
right.
we've been doing and where we are.
Just curiosity. I'm not saying, you've got to do it. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, the other part of that,
There's
I
a
want-
lot of questions I've got, so.
That's-
Sorry.
The other part of that is I want to make sure in this review or revision that the maps are included as well.
Oh, of course.
Well, hopefully we'll have a lot more graphics in it.
Right. The maps relative to zoning area, what areas have different zonings in them. We have to look at that, too.
Yeah, we should update the map.
Right, the maps
Once we
need to be
update the
part of this
regulations.
project, not just the regs. Please.
Just one thing, and I know, things have changed, and everything can be seen on the computer, but as commissioners, when I first got on commission, I realized 12 years ago, we got, they were like 18 by something. They were huge, and they were much easier to read.
For what?
For the maps of the town, for the aquifers, for the different parts of the town, and it was much easier to read. I still have them.
Yeah, the zoning map is
Zoning maps.
massive.
Yeah, I mean there was a whole but I know they've changed. But I'm just
Yeah.
saying, is there a way that we could, when we do the maps for the commissioners, to get a larger size one so they can read it? I mean,
of
8.5
course.
by 11 is, you're like, I'm sorry.
Would you like full
I have
size?
to have the magnifying glass out, but
You want 24 by 36, is that,
That
what
would
you're
be
saying?
No,
Right.
we can't do it on 24 by 36.
Well-
I guess we could, but yeah, we could. It's not going to be as big as the wall map, though.
no, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
It can be folded and put in your binder, but it's much easier to read because
We could try
an
it.
8.5 by 11, and you're trying to see it. It's like get the magnifying glass.
Yeah, we can explore paper size options,
All right.
100%.
All right, thank you.
So-
Just a request.
And there's one more piece, as we talk about the maps, and I've mentioned this several times, and I think other commissioners have too, we will be looking at what's designated as current wetlands. Is that correct as well?
Well,
No.
Wetlands.
No, that's not our purview, and the wetlands are not on the zoning map. There's a wetlands map for the Wetlands Commission, and there's a zoning map for the Planning and
We
Zoning
talked
Commission.
about the wetlands maps were created in the 60s or something.
right, but
Right,
that's,
but that's not this commission's purview. That's the Wetlands Commission should be reviewing that.
it's the same with the aquifer protection map too. So when you have your APA hats on, that's when you can look at the APA maps, which
Yep.
have not changed because that's simple level A mapping. So there's no change for that.
So you're the staff liaison to wetlands, correct?
Yes, and
So
they've
is there any
discussed
type
it.
of project in the Rising that
The
we're
only-
doing like that?
The only one that they're doing right now, they're doing it section by section because there's a lot to go over. And right now they're focusing on, I believe it's section 12 for the agent approvals because of the wetland layer being so old that, most of our subdivisions are built over top of that. And why make them come through a full permit when it could just be approved under the original building permit instead? So it saves them money and time. But, the Wetlands Agency is aware that they need updates, and that is their jurisdiction to follow through with.
So is there anything that's going to come in place, like funding, like we have for?
We haven't gotten that far yet. Right now, they're just doing the regs one section at a time.
So where these might meet is, we've discussed this, that the majority of our subdivisions in this town have been upzoned.
Yep.
So from R17 to R33, making them all completely non-conforming. And when they were developed over wetlands.
Right.
So we would like to downzone them back to what they were, so there's no more nonconformities. And the Wetlands Commission would like to do some sort of regulation to allow more uses there because the wetlands have been filled in and the houses are already there. It's ancient history, and we're making people go back for a wetlands permit when there's probably no more wetlands on the site.
Right, and that's
So
one of
it
the things
kind
that
of-
troubles
that's where
me
they kind
about.
of marry together.
That's one of the things that troubles me in general about wetlands, and I'll pick on what I always pick on, is the industrial park. I mean, so though that industrial park is under 1964 wetland maps.
Well, your other area that's very popular is Elm Street. All the plazas down the street over here are built on historic wetlands. And like when Raising Cane's came in and the development for Chick-fil-A, that's all impervious surface. There's no wetlands anymore. So, but the agency is aware, and they have.
That's something that I would hope.
yeah, they have goals in
There
mind,
was
so.
interest the last couple of years ago to combine wetlands and planning and zoning, have wetlands come under planning and zoning, because some communities are like that. Planning and zoning does wetlands as well. So we have the two separate agencies here.
Right, that does happen, but it's normally not like that.
Some
I think
communities
there's like
are.
3 towns that I know,
Only three,
Farmington.
only three, really? Okay.
It's very rare in Connecticut.
Okay. So hopefully you guys will get the wetlands done so we can get some construction in the industrial park.
They can still apply.
Yeah, but good luck. That's why they don't apply. It's too expensive to apply and get turned down. So anyway, that's my soap. Anybody else have any questions about how we're going to proceed for staff on the drawings or the regs or Mr. D'Antoni?
I just wanted to make a comment. I'm sure, especially all the folks who have been on the commission for a while now, but for the new ones especially, and staff can confirm, right? Our GIS website has super high resolution zoning maps, right? gis.enfield.org.
Actually, I have an update on that.
Yeah.
Being
Yeah,
the
that'd be
GIS
great.
coordinator for our department. We have been working with CDM Smith for the past 3 years. We now have, I think, 3 new GIS platforms, technically 4. The first one is the standard one you are familiar with, the normal public GIS that has some layers, the old historic wetlands, the typical zoning map, which obviously we've had our zone changes and needs to be updated, which we can tackle at a later date. But now we've come up with a staff GIS that's just for staff for each department. So it has the layers that the departments need. Like, for example, the planning staff GIS has the aquifer protection layer, it has the FEMA flood zones, it has all the the sewer manholes, and then the other one is for we have a new public GIS system that just came out last year. It's a little bit more upgraded than our original public GIS. It just has better aerial resolution, and it has more accurate parcel lines and aerial imagery that's not as off as the old public GIS. I do not yet know. I think we're waiting on one correction, which was for the measuring tool, because as you measure something, the numbers that you're measuring don't pop up as you're measuring, so you don't know where to stop. And that was the last thing that's being fixed before it gets published. And then we have one more that DPW and WPC use for sewer covers, manholes, and the utility lines.
Okay. Anybody else? Good, okay. So we will move on to, I believe, outside correspondence. Any outside correspondence? Anybody? Staff? Okay.
Not at this time?
Commissioners' correspondence. Any commissioners have any correspondence? As I look down this way, down that way. Let's see if I just have one thing. Last meeting, we finalized, I think, like the 3rd draft of the bylaws. We finished. I have like 3 at home, all different revisions that have been made over the last few months. When you have a chance, can you get one now that's done and dated? And because we just finished it last meeting. So a clean, yeah, I have like 3 of them. So we did that last piece, if you guys remember,
Yep.
relative to some of Lori's logistical stuff that she had. So I'd like to have, I don't know if anybody else, I'd like to have a clean copy
Yeah.
in case we have to look up something and we all have the same document, if you would do that.
It was the last one you got, but we'll do it again.
Yeah, well, we just finalized it last time. But it was still lined and stuff. It was draft, like. We had to make some
Okay,
changes.
yep.
Okay,
You
if
know,
you
I thought
will.
it was finalized.
What do you got, John?
I thought this one was finalized.
Well, there was one that changed Lori's,
April 11th? The bylaws.
We finalized the vote at the last meeting. It was still on the exact same document that
Right.
you were given the time before, but I can redistribute them,
if
no
you would. That
problem.
way, we all have it, because
Yep.
there was too many floating around. I
Okay.
don't know if anybody else has more than one. But there was too many floating around, so if you could do that, I appreciate it. Anybody else, Commissioner, correspondence? Anybody new? Anybody? We have continued public hearings. We don't have any continued public hearings. So we are now on new public hearings. So XZA 3092, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, the Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing at their regular meeting of Thursday, May 23rd, 2024, at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, concerning the following application. XZA number 3092, 820 Enfield Street, application for a text amendment to section 4.40.3.K to eliminate parking space requirement for 2 bedrooms. Town of Enfield, applicant owner.
Yes, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So this is
sorry.
the exact same application that was approved for elderly housing in the HR 33 district.
Okay,
Under PH 3088ZA, with the exception of the removal of the wording 2 parking space per 2 bedroom.
okay.
It's the only change.
And we, last meeting, we voted on having it tonight as a public hearing, right? I'm looking at the packet, the master packet on the website. Am I not seeing it there, or am I missing it?
You have to go down.
I just want to be sure it's on here.
It should be on.
Okay,
Yeah, it's there.
all right,
Yeah, it's there.
okay. And I know it was stamped in by the town clerk.
That's correct.
Was it also ran by the town attorney's office, or did it have to be?
That's correct, it was.
So the town attorney seen this final?
Yes.
And I see Sheila Bailey stamped it in as well?
Yes.
Okay,
It's ready for action.
okay. Any questions from the committee, the commission on this? Oh, all right, we do got to do public hearing. I'm sorry, thank you. That's why you're sitting here. At this time, is there anybody in the public that would like to come up and address the commission relative to this application? Is there anybody that would like to come up and talk about this text amendment 3092 for 8, that's by the town, the address is 820 Enfield Street, was the applicant? Going for the second time, anybody in the public would like to address us on this application? For the third time? All right, public participation, public comment is closed relative to XAZ 3092. Now, any questions, any comments from us? Staff? Anything else? Okay. Mr. Secretary, I believe a motion is in order?
We have to close the public hearing.
I did, didn't I?
No, we have to vote to close it, I think, right?
All right. Oh, I said it was over, okay.
So, yeah.
So can I have a vote, make a motion, please, to close the public hearing itself?
So moved.
Second, please?
Second.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Discussion? Okay, roll call vote to close the public hearing.
Frank Alamo,
4.
Linda DeGray,
4.
Kenneth Talinsky,
4.
Vincent Grillo, 4. Joseph Muley,
4.
Terrence Lynch,
4.
John Petronella is 4.
Okay, it passes. That it's closed. Now we'll have a vote on approval, a motion to approve.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve XZA number 3092 application for a text amendment to amend section 4.40.3.K by removing the wording of 2 parking space per 2-bedroom requirement, Town of Enfield applicant owner.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Hearing none. Oh,
can
I'm
you-
sorry.
I'm sorry, can you please include the findings and the effective date of approval?
Yes. Yeah, I'll read the findings. The findings, in adopting this regulation, the commission has considered the Plan of Conservation and Development, the POCD, and finds the amendment to be consistent with the POCD. And the reason for approval is the amendment is limited to certain parcels in the HR 33 zone and includes criteria and application procedures the commission determines to be sufficient to assure the public safety and convenience will be served. The effective date upon approval, the amendment shall be effective on June 10th, 2024.
So we're amending the original motion, correct?
No, you're just adding that.
We're just adding
Yes.
that. That's not considered an amendment to the motion?
No, unless you were to change the motion in its entirety.
Okay. Just checking.
Yep.
Okay. So with that added, we ready for a vote?
Is there a second?
There was a
Yeah, I
second.
seconded it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we seconded it.
Okay,
So with the added language.
okay, yeah, the roll call. Francis Alamo?
4.
Linda DeGray?
4.
Kenneth Valinsky?
4.
Vincent Grillo? 4. Joseph Muley?
4.
Terrence Lynch?
4.
And John Petronella is 4.
Okay, so that passes. We're all set with that.
ZA 309.
Old business, number 15, we have none. And new business, SPR 1937-555 Taylor Road.
Yeah, SPR number 1937, 555 Taylor Road, site plan review for small-scale ground-mounted solar project. John Malucci applicant, Mullen Road LLC, owner, map 99, lot 11, I-1 zone.
Are the applicants here? Would you please come up?
You don't have to do that. That's not for that.
No?
You can come sit.
Just state your name for the record, please.
Make sure the microphone's on, the red button.
Check. Michael DePanflo.
Address, name and address for the record. And if you're working for a company, please include it.
Thank you. My name is Michael DePanflo. I'm the engineer of the project, and I work for Earthlight Technologies that's located at 128 West Road, Ellington, Connecticut.
Perfect. Sir?
Jake Schneider. I also work for Earthlight at 128 West Road in Ellington, Connecticut.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So if you can give us an overview of your proposal and your project?
Absolutely. First, I want to just thank the board for your time tonight. Throughout this whole process with Enfield, I really appreciated the amount of direct conversation we've been able to have with the planning board and the building officials. We do a lot of work in the state of Connecticut, and not as many towns as the state of Enfield give us this much direct conversation, so we appreciate it.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
So, this is a ground-mounted solar array. Sorry. Just to give a little backstory on Earthlight first. We're located in Ellington, Connecticut. We're a family-owned business. We install and residential and commercial solar projects. Been doing this for well over 10 years now. And USA Hauling is a great client and a new tenant of Enfield as of recently. This is a ground-mounted PV solar array that consists of 778 solar panels, and this is 338 kW DC. So the PV array will be connected behind the meter, and this will offset about 51% of the on-site load that is currently being consumed there. There will be some tree clearing in order to facilitate the array site and to maximize the production, but there will be a visibility barrier that is maintained along the roadside and along the southern border as per the zoning code. The PV system, as seen on the slide here, is 5 foot 8 inches tall, so it's a relatively short system in comparison to some of those tracking systems that can be over 10 feet tall. And it is a ground screw system, so there are about 375 screws that go into the earth for this system. So in the way that it's constructed, we do not have to excavate in order to put in the foundations. So we intend to keep the we intend to keep the disruption of the earth to a minimum, and I think that the ground screw method is really great at doing that. So in discussing the minimal disruption to the earth, the one area that we do have to dig is the electrical trenching. So the trench will be dug along the southern part of the property and tied back into the electrical room on the western side of the building. The trench is about 24 inches deep, 24 to 30 inches deep, and 24 inches wide. And in all of the areas that we disrupt, we fill back with native soil and reseed with native grasses. For the tree clearing, in order to maintain the structure of the earth, we are primarily bringing the trees down to a stump rather than pulling up the roots. We will only remove any roots in the instance where we need to trench right through that. And it's a pretty straight trench path, so it should be very minimal disruption from removing the stumps. As far as erosion control goes, I believe that we've followed the deep requirements, although the deep requirements are meant for projects for over 1 megawatt, but we feel that following them is best practice in our industry. And it's really meant, it's about array tilt and how the water flows off of the panels, making sure that there's enough distance between the arrays that you're not piling up water on certain areas of the land, and not disturbing the earth in a way of like grading. And I think there's a lot of issues with larger projects when you grade. Now you've just disrupted the earth, and now you have the water falling off of the panels. That's when you get erosion issues. And this method with the ground screws and trying to flow with the grade is the least impactful for this type of project. And just a final picture here of another project highlighting the type of, this is generally the same size project. I believe this is just smaller, around 740 panels. And the orientation is a little bit different, but generally the same project to give you a size and scope. And the racking method is the exact same. You can tell by the way it flows with the earth rather than grading it to make it all flat and thereby causing issues further down the road with erosion. And at this time, I'll take questions.
Okay.
Do you have anything else?
Anything to add, sir? Okay. Staff says you're going to be reporting at the meeting?
I do have some site-specific questions or requirements.
Okay. I'm just looking at staff comments, and it says staff will report. So do you have something for us now, or you want us to come back to you?
Unless you want me to talk about the conditions at this point.
No, we can do the conditions before we get to the voting. You're talking about site-specific
The
conditions?
site-specific, yes.
Yeah, because I'm seeing here, it sounds like the way it is, parentheses, you have something to say. Staff will report at meeting. It says fire, no comments, building.
Oh, there's no update.
Oh, I'm just reading what I have in front of me.
That was just to inform you about the owner change, the Mullen Road LLC.
Yeah.
That's all.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that's
That's
right,
all.
yeah. Thank
There
you
you go.
very much. I'm like looking for the other staff comments.
I'm her
So,
assistant.
we only read what you give us.
right.
Right.
So the applicant was wrong, Mullen Road LLC,
Okay.
instead of
That's
the
corrected for the
WE.
record and everything,
Yeah.
and we can proceed? Mm-hmm. Okay. Any questions at this time from the commission? Commissioner DeGray?
just curious, how far apart will these rows be for like a lawnmower to go in between? Because grass will be growing and weeds, and so how will this be maintained?
Absolutely, that's a great question. The row spacing is about 15 feet wide, and just to be able to go through with a more industrial lawnmower.
Because it's in this nice little bowl right now, and you really can't see anything from the street, and that's why I was wondering how you were going to maintain that.
Absolutely. The site owner, USA Hauling, will be maintaining the array.
Okay.
And they are very particular about the aesthetic of the array already, so I trust that they are going to be well maintained of the land around the array.
He's been before us before with one of these projects, that's why I was, but thank you.
That's a good question about that, because one of them that came before us, another part of the community, they have goats to eat the grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So this time, no goats.
No goats on this one.
Goats are going to be glowing over there. Is there,
You have
next
to raise the
question.
arrays if you have goats, so they can't jump on them.
Commissioner Alinsky has a question.
Yes, how much, what percentage of power will the solar array provide to USA Recycling? I mean,
So as modeled, it was about 51% of their usage.
wow, that's pretty good.
And it's participating in the small non-residential
Sure.
program in Eversource. So they do have net metering and are benefiting from that program.
Okay, thank you.
So nothing goes back out to the grid?
Yeah, so that's the
Is that what I'm hearing?
the benefit from net metering. When in the summertime, it will produce more than their on-site load, but they get on-bill credits to offset in the winter.
Sure.
Much like a lot of, if anyone has a residential system in the building.
Right, so on the average, it's 51%.
Yeah, so if you look at their whole year and how much the solar will produce, it's right around 51%.
Wow. Any more questions down here? Mr. Grillo?
Just to clarify just one thing, you're going to keep and maintain that buffer just for the residents over there? No one's going to be looking right at solar panels?
Absolutely, that's our number one priority.
Yeah, mine too.
And you live right across the street, so
No, I don't. I don't live close to it, but
yeah.
I know a lot of people. I have nothing against solar panels. They're just the ugliest looking things, and they're just placed everywhere. And I don't think they clear all this land, and all you see is this big shield. It's like so if I was a resident that did live across the street from there, I would definitely not want to stare and look at it. So this is why I'm asking.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We agree 100%. I
All
would
right.
not. I think some solar arrays are nicer than others, but I'm not it's no Mona Lisa or anything like that.
I did read that you were going to be possibly putting in more trees later if needed. I read that in, I think, somebody's report in this application. You were to buffer.
To buffer.
Yeah, I think I seen something that they were going to, yeah. That was in there. Vin, are you good? Yeah. Mr. D'Antonio, you love solar.
No, I mean, it seems pretty reasonable. I mean, I guess.
You know a lot more about it, I should say, than I do.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was kind of curious about the placement on the slope and the clearance aside from, as opposed to kind of the open area on the property. But I don't know if that may be more of the property owner's call than yours.
Yeah,
in terms of placement.
We had done a study of about 7 different places on the property, and this is the one that the owner liked the best. I think if it were up to me, the engineer, it might be a little bit different. We were going to go with a really fancy carport, but They really like this one, and that's how it was chosen.
Probably a balance of price versus production.
Exactly, yeah.
Thank you.
All set? Anybody else, citizen?
Yeah.
No? Good?
If I could.
Sure.
This is to both of you and staff. I'm reading here that 30,000 square feet of trees will be gone. And as Frank mentioned a couple minutes ago, he mentioned that additional trees will need to be planted to fill the gaps that such residential neighbors cannot see any of the arrays. My question becomes, when do we decide what needs to be put in, and who decides?
That ties right into my site-specific conditions.
Do what?
This ties into my site-specific conditions.
Okay.
So number 7,
Well, I have a question before that. We'll wait. Can you wait on that?
of course.
Do you have any other questions?
No, that's it.
Okay. Anybody out? So can you explain a little bit about the ground screwing? So there's no 4-foot footing to hold these things in place? How does that, for safety reason, the wind comes up and doesn't blow these things away? What? I've never heard of it before. So ground screwing, if you would, please. I don't, I'm just trying to figure out how it stays there without a 4-foot footing in the ground and concrete and all that.
Yeah, so obviously everything is engineered, but the ground screw is, the screw itself is at least 6 feet.
Below the frost line it goes in?
Yeah, so it'll go down, and what they do is they have those little mini skid steers that you like stand on the back of.
Yeah.
And they'll screw the screw in all the way until they get to a certain torque. So once they reach that torque, then they know that the screw is tight enough, and obviously they have a minimum, depth and everything like that. And then they do a pull-out test, so it makes sure, I'm not exactly sure the value, but they do a pull-out test to make sure that it doesn't pull out to a certain PSF. So, and then we'll do like a lateral push test. So they take a look at the soil, but the main thing is they want to get that specific torque.
So it bottoms out on something that it wraps around, and it's something solid. Right, you're saying, when you say it hits that torque, when it can't turn it any, torque to me is you can't turn it anymore?
Exactly, yep.
Huh, interesting.
Yep, and if there's like a big, huge boulder underneath, they'll drill right through it. They'll rock drill it and drill right
So
through
this screw can drill through a boulder?
Yeah.
So it's something on a hydraulic machine, like
Yep,
something like they
exactly.
put a telephone pole in with, a big auger?
Well, that would be augering out the ground first and then putting it in.
But you're not doing that.
No, this is
The screw
literally
and
like,
the auger are one?
Yeah.
It's all one item?
Yep.
Is this something new in the industry?
In the solar industry.
I mean, in the solar industry.
I mean, the solar industry is fairly new in itself, but
Right.
it's we've probably been doing it for like 5 years. Before solar, I haven't seen it much, so fairly new.
Anything out in the hurricane belt out west to try out there yet?
We haven't been out there much.
I just want to make sure they stay there. That's my only issue.
Yeah.
And the other thing, the trench,
Yep.
that's going to supply the power,
Yep.
obviously that wire's going in conduit, correct?
Correct.
Right?
Yep,
Possibly.
scheduled for
I don't see anything from the bill. I don't see any concerns from anybody here about building department or anything. It was just some
Yeah.
questions that I was just
Yeah.
thinking of. So yeah, so that'll be buried correctly in conduit.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
and these
Warning
screws
tape.
and
Yep.
lawnmowers instead of goats.
Right. Yep.
All right. So that's, yes, please.
I would love to hear the site conditions.
Yeah, we're
that
gonna
Lori
get
has.
to that right when we're ready to
Yeah, but
vote.
that would have helped us with a
Oh,
lot
I'm
of our
sorry.
questions, to be honest with you.
Okay, we can do that.
Sir,
Usually,
I think so. Yeah,
usually
but
the site-specific conditions come in when he's getting ready to
No, I
read the
think
approval,
what
but
she
sure.
has to say might be important. So
Absolutely.
thanks.
You got
Lori?
it. Lori, if you would, the specific, site-specific conditions?
Certainly.
And John, does John need to be ready for any of this, or?
No, this is still under discussion.
Okay.
So if you have changes or
Okay.
comments or recommendations,
Yeah,
we
it's fine.
can still modify them.
Absolutely. Let's hear 'em.
So number 7, should the tree buffer be inadequate to fully screen the arrays from the residential parcels? Additional tree plantings will be required to fill in any gaps. And the reason for that is whenever you clear any large wooded area, you don't really know what's in the remaining buffer, and sometimes there could be gaps. So once that is cleared, then you could allow staff to go out there and check and make sure that there's adequate plantings, and if not, we could discuss it.
Well, I know we've done that on a couple other applications, and we did it.
Correct.
We don't know the timing on this, but we would do it like now. We see what's blooming, what's dead, what's happening, so, but I don't know if that's gonna be timely here. You know,
Yeah.
I think we have a couple applications right now where you guys are gonna be going out that we approved previously that you would look at in the springtime to see what came back, what didn't. So I don't know how you're gonna work this out.
It's been done before.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, hopefully they'd cut in the summer, so we know that. But then if they're cut in the winter time, then there's probably gonna be a lot more gaps, and we'll probably
Right.
have to be looking at both
Next year,
seasons.
a year from now.
Yeah.
So you had, so just to stop for a sec, what's the timeline?
As soon as possible.
Okay. But we're not
So
gonna
that's
know
gonna
about.
be with full leaf, so,
Full
I mean,
leaves, right.
so if maybe you want to discuss possible 2 times of a review.
Yes.
Because in the wintertime, when there's no leaves, there still might be more gaps.
Right, so we'll do it twice, and we'll do it in the spring and now, or, we've done this, we're not picking, we've done this on other applications, because it's just, we're in New England, so everything doesn't bloom, and you're out there in the wintertime and there's nothing there. And then in the springtime, if something didn't come back, it has to be replaced or filled in, so we've done it on other application. I'm sorry, Lori, continue.
Oh, no problem. Spec sheets and trench details should be added to the plans. Our standard condition, no dust, dirt, fly ash, and smoke, da-da-da. And no portion of any solar panel that is part of the small solar array shall exceed 18 feet in height. And that's it, but the big one was the landscaping.
Vinny, you good with that? Okay, yeah, we'll have them go back out in the spring, next spring. See what popped up and, yeah.
I just wanted to see what
you Yeah.
had going on there.
We'll make sure that the screening is there.
Yeah, I would suggest if they're going to do this ASAP, that we look at, right now it's full leaf, so when they
Yeah.
cut the trees, we'll know what it's like full leaf, and then we could go out when there's no leaf to do one more inspection to make sure that there truly is no visibility from the residential neighborhood across the street.
But wouldn't you have to go back out in the spring to see what comes back? To see what
Well,
blooms?
we require landscape bonds,
Right.
so
Okay.
we could do that.
'Cause I think on a couple of the other ones, we said we'll be back when spring hits to see what came back and what didn't come
Right,
back.
yeah.
But either way, we can cover it where the
I
screening will be
believe
there.
so.
Vinny, do
Yes,
you have
sir.
any other suggestions? But what about the spring piece of it I was talking about? So they're gonna go out there, look at the leaves, they're gonna knock them down, they're gonna take the trees down, then winter's gonna happen. Then what comes back in the spring, we have to see.
Right, and, but like Lori said, we do have a bond, so
Landscape on.
before
Oh.
that is completed, we'll just maybe take a look at it before we approve. When they come back for their bond, we know it, we go, well, one of us or,
Yeah.
I don't know, and just take a look. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, it's the
we don't
staff
want to be
report.
sticklers, I
No,
mean.
we just wanna
I
make
mean,
sure
We don't
that-
want to,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so the bond
They don't
release
have to get
usually will be, the bond release will usually run that length of time anyway.
Yes,
Right.
and when the
2 years.
right, and when the bond release comes back, if it's not adequately vegetated
There you
enough,
go.
then you don't have to approve the release.
That does.
Right.
yeah, so I'm,
The ground also slopes down, so you have the road up here, and then it slopes down, and then the solar array starts. So there's also a height difference even from there. So the houses
Natural
across
contour.
the street, probably won't even see it, even if there is gaps. But we can look at it obviously. So we're hoping to cut within the next 30 days, depending on when all the approvals come through. But we're obviously, things are still blooming and growing, and we hope that it continues to grow throughout the summertime and
I have
we
another
won't have
quick-
any issues in the springtime.
I have another quick question relative to what I was asking about the ground screw. You had mentioned you're leaving the stumps. Seeing that you're doing that, you're not disturbing anything, does that help that ground screw process, that stuff is all in place and nothing's getting dug up?
Yeah, because then it's all virgin soil. So if we rip the stumps out, we'd have to put specific gravel or some sort of soil with specific compaction and everything like that to make sure that the ground screw
Right.
is adequately
So
fixed.
leaving the stumps helps the ground screw process.
Yep.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so staff, you're all set? This wasn't a public hearing, so we don't have to
Yes.
close the, was it a public hearing?
No,
No, it's not a public hearing.
site plan approval.
Did you say yes? Oh, yes, you're all set.
I'm all set.
Okay,
No,
yes,
it
it's not
wasn't a public
yeah,
hearing.
It's not, right, okay. Is there a motion for approval, Mr. Secretary?
Yep, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve SPR 1928 application for a site plan approval for a small ground-mounted solar array as an accessory use to an existing industrial use, 555 Taylor Road. John Malucci, applicant, Mullen Road LLC owner, I-1 zone per the reference plans, reports, and application materials with the following modifications and 22 conditions of approval.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. Discussion on the motion, please? Looking at both ways. No discussion. Roll call vote.
Yes.
When you're ready, take your time.
Frank Alimo,
4.
Linda DeGray,
Or,
Kenneth Helinski,
4.
Vincent Grillo,
4.
Joseph Muley,
4.
Terrence Lynch,
4.
and John Petronella is 4.
So it's approved. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with the ground screws. Oh, that's amazing. That thing screws in so it's an auger and a screw. They're 6 feet, so it gets below the 2 foot below frost level.
Pretty tight, yeah.
Yeah.
Those hold pretty tight.
Yeah, the wind gets underneath them things, boy.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was worried about. We got flying glass everywhere. We have more goodies?
This is for the next application.
Okay.
Uh-oh, uh-oh, dusk.
Just letters to me, man, for the applicant. DTV survey is required. Dumpster pad and screening details to be shown on the plan.
Oh, okay, I apologize. I have a board.
Is this electronic, or we have to open up this big sheet?
Diesel.
Easel, oh, we're going back to the old way here.
Old-fashioned paper copy.
There you go.
Apologize.
Nothing wrong with it.
That's it.
Nothing wrong with it. It's okay.
Yep, we have them.
Okay, great. Josh would have killed me.
Can you hear me? Oh, here we go. Right. Good
We
evening.
get name and address for the record for
Sure,
both of you,
sure.
please?
Yep. Good evening. Rebecca Lee with Arlavec Associates, located at 40 School Street in Westfield, Massachusetts. I'm here with Mr. Ken Slater.
I'm an attorney with Halloran and Sage, representing the applicant, Pullman Field, contract purchaser of the property.
Good evening, welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yes.
Does the secretary have to read the,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no,
Get a little ahead,
Hang on a second.
doesn't have to read it? Okay.
a bit
I'm
ahead of
just-
ourselves here.
This is SPR 1938, John, if
Yep.
you have something there. Thank you, Walter.
SPR number 1938, Shaker Road and North Maple Street, site plan review for construction of an indoor self-storage facility and associated site improvements. Pullman Realty applicant, Mark Polick, owner, map 81, lot 9, I-1 zone.
Okay,
All set?
now we're official.
All right, here we go. So the Locust property is located at the intersection of North Maple Street and Shaker Road. It was formerly an agricultural field, so it has been historically disturbed and cleared of vegetation. The property, as mentioned, is located in the I-1 district. The existing topography has high side along the northern side and slopes towards the southern side. We are located, a portion of the property is located within the 200-foot upland review area from the freshwater brook. That's to the south of the property. We have gone in front of the IWWA and received the permit through them. So the proposed layout shows 10 buildings. One of the buildings will have a 20 by 20 office area at the front entrance here. The site will gain access from Shaker Road, where you'll have the main curb cut here with bi-directional traffic. There'll be some parking out in front here outside of the gated area so that, you know, prospective tenants can access the office space. The entire site will be fenced off for security purposes, bi-directional traffic throughout the site to ensure there's enough space for emergency vehicles to, you know, navigate through the site. The curb cut on the eastern side of Shaker is only a right turn, and that was per feedback from the police department and to promote safe, you know, traffic. The site has some areas delineated for snow storage areas indicated by the clouded bubbled areas. We are providing 7 parking spaces. There are 50 that are required per the zoning ordinance. However, with the usage and the expectation that most tenants and patrons will be accessing the site, parking within the drive aisles, which are 30 feet wide, so they're adequate for a car to park and then have, you know, a pass-by vehicle get around them and then leave. So we are providing 7 on-site parking spaces. We do have some area to the south here that we are banking for additional parking if needed. So we are, you know, seeking relief initially for the 50 parking spaces, you know, and if it's needed, we have accommodated that with the stormwater analysis. So this is the grading plan. It mimics the existing topography to the maximum extent practicable. We have high side along Shaker Road, and it sheet flows towards low points at the end of each drive aisle where the runoff will be collected via catch basins. The basin back here will all be fill. Unfortunately, there is quite a bit of fill to be able to accommodate that basin. The basin has been designed for the 100-year storm event, and it is equipped with an emergency overflow connection to the existing drainage system down in this corner here, and I'll show that on the next page. So to a certain elevation, so up to the 10-year storm event, everything will be attenuated within the infiltration basin. Anything over that 10-year storm event will start metering out slowly towards the existing drainage system along the shoulder of North Maple Street. North Maple Street is CTDOT, so we understand that, you know, once we receive local approvals, we will have to go through another, you know, approval process with CTDOT. I also want to mention that all the roof leaders will be positively connected to subsurface piping network that will drain directly into the infiltration basin. So that basin is taking all of the impervious from the site, treating it, attenuating it, and slowly metering it out towards the existing drainage system. And this is the landscaping plan. We are providing that required vegetative buffer along Shaker Road and North Maple Street here. I know we received some planning comments, and I apologize, Lori. It got sent to a spam folder, so we didn't see them until a couple hours ago. So I do have some responses, though, to those comments.
We just handed those out, so they have the sheets
Perfect. Okay, great.
from your memo.
Great. So just going through some of the planning comments here, an A2 survey with meets and bounds is required. This could easily be added to sheet EX-1A. Our response is the existing conditions plan EX1 will be revised accordingly and added to the final plan set provided to the planning department. Comment number 2, a dumpster pad with screening and details needs to be shown on the plan. Our response is an exterior dumpster is not needed to support the operations of the proposed self-storage facility and can be an attractive nuisance, inviting unwanted or illegal dumping. So just to add to this, we've done a lot of self-storage facilities, and we have not proposed any dumpsters at any one of the facilities. A couple of them have been operational for several years now. They haven't had any sort of problems with, patrons requiring dumpsters. People who come usually store their items, and then they, take them with them. If a unit were to be, someone were not to pay rent, they would, contract another company to come and take care of that.
So you're saying people can tend to store their stuff and throw their junk away and fill up a dumpster?
If
That's
a
what you're worried
dumpster
about.
if a dumpster was provided,
Right.
correct. There's no way to really control, what people are dumping in
Right.
there. It's kind of like a free for all.
Yeah.
So that's our stance on it, and we'd be happy to talk to the commission further if you had any opinions on the dumpster enclosure.
We'll have to talk about that a little bit, maybe trash receptacles or something for around your property, but go ahead.
Okay, we'll continue. Landscaping, the 50-foot B buffer yard should extend up to North Maple Street, and lawn area along North Maple Street should be extended to the street. Our response is sheet C6 will be revised accordingly within the final plan set provided to the planning department. Number 4, the key symbols of plants should be added to the plant list. Our response is sheet C6 will be revised accordingly with the final plan set provided to the planning department. Number 5, screening plants should be added to the parking stalls facing North Main Street, similar to those on the west side. Our response...
North Maple Street.
Yes, correct, sorry. Sheet C6 will be revised accordingly within the final plan set provided to the planning department. So these two areas right in here will look like that, essentially. And then the last one here, section 10.10.7 requires a 4-foot sidewalk along the street. Sidewalks are required along the frontage of both streets. These and construction details should be added to the plans. Our response is existing sidewalks are not present along Shaker Road or North Maple Street within the vicinity of the project site to connect to. Considering the proposed use of the site, which is non-pedestrian in nature, and the existing vehicular nature of both Shaker Road and North Maple Street, the applicant would request this requirement to be waived. The applicant will be seeking approval from CTDOT for the access drives along Shaker Road. Should the CTDOT require sidewalks during this review, the applicant is amendable to continuing conversation with the town to install said sidewalks.
So I'll just chime in, Ken Slater for the record again, and I would join the last applicant in thanking staff. They've been so helpful getting prepared for tonight, both through the process of going through the wetlands approval process and approaching this evening. And it's nice to be able to have that kind of dialogue to get to the point where we think when it gets to you that we've addressed everything or most everything. The points that are most problematic are the ones that were raised in the engineering presentation. The dumpster's not a deal breaker. It'll just be a problem because in the nature of the use. Sure, I'm sorry. Usually I'm accused of talking too loud, so I apologize, and at least by my wife. the dumpster, people come in, put materials into their self-storage and take them back out again. It's not like other uses where there's a grocery store use. You come out of the store and you got your paper, your potato chips, and you want to throw your container out. It's in it's like the Boy Scouts when you leave no trace behind. You want your customers to just come in and go into the units. If there's a dumpster there, it'll be used because people will say, I'll be able to take that I'll take that mattress that I don't want anymore, and I'm just going to stuff it into the dumpster. So it'll be a problem. So although it certainly wouldn't kill the project if we're forced to have it, we know it'll be a nuisance. It'll be a problem for us operating the business or my client operating the business. But if that's something that the commission wants, the sidewalks, on the other hand, are a big problem. There's a tremendous amount of frontage with that corner lot, and the nature of the use. There's no sidewalk anywhere, and there'd be nobody that uses this site that needs a sidewalk. It's just you come in and you use your units and you leave. So it was proposed without them, and staff has recommended a condition to add them. We'd ask that it not be, or that at least the commission be creative and requiring it to be put in the event it's required by DOT. Or in the event that sidewalks are established in the adjoining property, so that it actually connects to something. That intersection. There's no crosswalks. It's just not a pedestrian area, and it will, according to my client, you won't proceed with closing on the deal because of the added costs to put that much sidewalk on. With the nature of this use, would make the project not viable. So we'd hope that you'd work with us on that. And other than that, we would entertain whatever questions you have from an engineering standpoint or otherwise.
Well, thank you. We'll go to the board, the commission. Vinny, you want to go first?
Thank you. Hi, thank you for that. So the reason for the sidewalks and the reason why we asked, because you may be the only one there now, but then when someone else goes next year, they're going to need the sidewalk too. And we want to keep continuing. You're not the only one that we put sidewalks in. Please understand that. Next lot, they'll have to put the sidewalk. Unfortunately for you, you're the first one there in the corner. Mm-hmm. I have a problem with you not putting the sidewalk there. I truly do. I just looked at this, but give me till next meeting and I'll give you 10 reasons why it needs to be there.
Well, what I would ask is if you want, it would be creative to say that you say the next one, when the next one gets approved, that you require them, that will be required to connect at that point, and maybe my client would be willing to take the risk that happens. But otherwise, they won't be constructed. The project won't happen, and they won't be constructed.
Right, and that's unfortunate, but
right? It's just a reality.
Anybody else want to go? Commissioner Linsky. Go ahead, Commissioner Linsky.
Oh, yeah, okay. Just a few comments about the dumpster. I've used two facilities in town. There's one on South Road, which is an external facility. I don't remember there being any dumpster there or any kind of trash receptacles. So, and it didn't seem to be a problem. I'm currently using the indoor facility, the old Hallmark plant. Mm-hmm. And there are no trash receptacles inside the climate control facility either. So I guess, and people seem to be pretty good. I mean, there's no trash laying around, and you whatever you take out of there, you take the dump, or you take it to your own house and get rid of it. And so I don't really see the requirement for a dumpster unless we have a specific ruling that says we have to have a dumpster.
The dumpster itself, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind. The
Please.
dumpster itself is not necessarily required. It's usually recommended. And I agree, I've been to a couple others of these sites, and they do not have a dumpster.
Commissioner Petronello.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not seeing any building elevation plans with this submission. Is there a reason for that? We have no idea what the buildings are looking like or what materials from street view or anything.
Yeah, it's the standard single-story, self-storage long buildings that you see just driving down.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know that, but I believe a requirement is that we have building elevation plans. Isn't that true? Lori?
Yes, we usually do receive them.
And also with that, as I look at your grading plan on C4, I think it is, on sheet C4, from north to south, I see the grading at between buildings. I guess the two buildings that run east and west. So I see a grading plan of an elevation of 163 and running south to the end of the buildings that are running north and south, 161. So that tells me that the buildings would probably have to be stepped in some way.
Yeah, that's a great point. Through the chair, if I may.
Sure.
So, like I said, I've done probably 6, 7 self-storage facilities in the last year. The latest and greatest with these self-storage facilities is that they actually slope the finished floor slab at 1% slope. So instead of stepping the foundations and creating this, jagged jog so the plows bang into, or it's just, inconvenient, they actually have it so that, the foundation and top of slab is continuously sloping. So the grade adjacent to the building is sloping with the building at 1%. So it's a smooth, contiguous transition.
That's strange. I've never seen that done before, but I'm not
I can
questioning
send
that.
you
Yeah.
some pictures or photos of it installed, and we can certainly provide, an elevation if that's, would help.
And I think question, and this comes from, I think, the last storage unit we had, something about the bathrooms now. I assume that there's bathrooms in the office area. Are the rental people are able to utilize those as well? Or is it for that use, or is it required? We went through this before on South
Yeah, we
Road.
did put bathrooms in.
The intent is
We
that
just went through it on Moody, too, right?
the intent is that the bathroom would just be for the employee that's there, working full time. We have a sanitary, and I apologize, I missed this during my presentation, but we do have a sanitary sewer connection to the existing system that actually runs through the southern side
see
of
that,
the property.
Okay, so the bathroom is just for the office area and employees?
Yes, yep.
As such. Okay. All right, like I said, I was a little, I certainly would appreciate to look at some sort of building elevation plan. Is it metal siding?
Yes.
But they're going to be metal, okay, and just overhead doors and
Yep, steel
and rows
overhead
of
doors, yep.
metal roof panels?
Yep, everything's, the metal.
The height of the buildings, again, we don't know nothing. Are they 10 feet high, are they 8 feet high, or?
Sure. Yeah, we can certainly provide
Sure,
that to the commission. That's
Okay.
not a problem.
thank you.
Please.
Is there, I don't see in here an office building, like you were talking about a bathroom and somebody that's going to maintain, I didn't see that.
It's just an office space, so it's going to be within, the building's going to look
Oh,
the
right
same.
there, okay.
And
Okay.
it's just going to be, instead of a unit, like a 20 by 20 unit, it's going to be an office space.
Okay, I see it now. Thank you.
At the end of one of the units.
Yeah, sorry, it's dashed right here. I think it's delineated.
Where is that?
It's delineated on the layout plan. Just this dashed little corner there.
Right there.
Yeah, yeah.
On Commissioner Petronella's point, this is such a busy corner in Enfield, lots of traffic, and to have no elevations or idea what this is going to look like, and I think I can't be comfortable until I see something
Sure.
for you, because you're saying, oh, it's just going to be this box. Well, that's fine, but
Sure.
I want something a little bit more concrete than it's a box.
Okay, no
'Cause
problem.
It's an important area in our town.
Understood.
And you don't have to drive by it every day. I do.
Understood.
All
I
right.
got it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Muley, please.
The 7 parking spaces you were going to provide, where are those?
So 2 of them, one ADA accessible up here, and then the other one's for non-ADA. Then there's, so 1, 2, 3, 4, there's some down here, 5, 6, 7.
So
There's 3 locations kind of at the corners of the site.
So you have to have access into the gate to get at some of those.
Yes. Yep. So the idea is that these 2 up front will be accessible to the public. And then if you are a tenant or you have a contract with them, you'll be able to access the site via, a key fob or a keypad to be able to, gain entry into the site.
Okay. I just thought they'd be on the public side of the gate, so if you had multiple people show up, they had somewhere to park instead of in the driveway.
Yeah, I can guarantee you there's not going to be many people that are all going to be looking for a unit at once, but
Okay, all right.
we provided as much as we could at along the frontage there with the parking setbacks and how the site's laid out.
Okay.
Commissioner Quazell, please.
I'm going to disagree with about the sidewalks. I don't see a need for them. There's a crosswalk there on the eastern side of that intersection that if you did a forensic study, no one's pushed that button ever since they installed it. So, and they're just stubs. They don't go anywhere. I think at one time when the house across the street had a donkey out mowing the lawn, I think he pushed it once. So because I used to drive by there a lot. So, but I'm gonna disagree with. I don't see any future use of sidewalks in that area. So I'm gonna go with that. Thank you.
Any more questions from any of the members?
Yes.
Yeah, just one if I could. With the parking, say you got a few spots up on the corner, a couple of spots, and then there are on other corners of the property.
Mm-hmm.
If the parking is there for people to come in to rent places and all that, and you think you need 6 or 7 parking spaces to do that, I don't see anyone parking down in the southeast corner for anything. So why are we putting parking spaces there instead of somewhere near where the office is going to be? It just doesn't make sense to me. And I know the property very well because I drive by it every day. And I just don't understand it. And the sidewalks are something we're certainly going to have to talk about. Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, we tried to squeeze as many spots as we could. We do meet all sort of landscape bufferings, the parking setback. We can certainly look into if we can squeeze at least another space in there. I wholeheartedly agree with you. I don't think these spaces are going to be utilized very much. We were trying to provide as much as we could, given the large parking, requirements per the zoning ordinance. Self-storage facilities don't, the use doesn't require, or I guess promote a lot of parking, space needs. Because like I said, people will be accessing their units, parking in the drive aisles, getting their stuff, leaving.
Thank you.
Yep.
So on the parking, when staff has their comments, we're going to talk about that because you're asking for relief in our statutes for a number of spots.
Correct.
Changing calculations for electrical vehicle chargers, because it all has to do with the number of parking spots. So
Correct. Yep.
when we get to that,
Sure.
more questions on parking, we could address to Lori.
Okay.
The sidewalk deal or issue is very important to us, very important to me, because we have been requiring them over the last, I've been on for 5 years now, We require them, we don't waive them. A self-storage facility we just approved a couple of months ago in your neighborhood up there is putting them in. And in a way, they came in, it was like it was a subdivision first, then an application, but it would have been the owner who had to do it, but the owners of the self-storage facility said, okay, we'll go ahead and do it, and, you know, a pretty big frontage, like you, maybe almost the same, pretty close to it. And again, we're doing this because we've had, in the past, everybody called them sidewalks to nowhere because people stopped, you know, requiring, other panels, other boards stopped requiring the sidewalks. So that's why we want the sidewalks, and we're going to continue that program so people connect to it. You know, there is condos down the street, there is residential around. So that's going to be a tough one for us, tough one for me especially, and I'll do respect, Attorney. You know, you said that, well, if we say yes, the project's over because we don't have the money. That, to me, is almost holding a gun to our head, and, you know, I'm kind of a little taken back by that. 'Cause for me, money has nothing to do with it. If you can't afford something that has nothing to do with zoning regulations, and as an attorney, I'm not an attorney, but I'm sure you know that. But, I mean, to say that, well, if we make the sidewalks, it's over, then we go back to tobacco. I've been living here all my life, it's been tobacco. So, I mean, that kind of was, I'm a little taken back by that, with all due respect.
No, and I didn't mean to be disrespectful. It was, that's why I was thinking about the creative answer, which is you include them as a condition when an adjoining property also has to put one so that it's not a sidewalk to nowhere, and that way you defer that, because frankly, I don't think it's ever going to happen in that particular area. Much of Enfield makes a ton of sense, and perhaps there's areas where you didn't approve it, and then you end up with gaps. I just don't think this is going to be one of those areas where you're going to.
Nobody can predict the future, so we're covering our bases to make sure we have everybody put sidewalks in. Just up the street from you, the Win Stanley building, there's sidewalks all the way around that, the big industrial building. I don't know if you've been out there, have you seen that? It's just up the street, half a mile from you. Huge 500,000 square foot warehousing building. They put sidewalks all the way around. The last storage facility we did last month, I think it was, or not that long ago, sidewalks. So that's going to be a tough buy for us to grant that to you.
Well, I think the matter is going to get continued. It sounds like because you want elevations, which are important,
right?
And so I can spend more time with the client and make the decision, you know, to proceed or not.
And all due respect to Commissioner Quazell, who's new on the committee, so maybe he didn't realize what our practice has been. It's been our practice for the last some number of years to have the sidewalks installed. And if we go ahead and say no now, I mean, that's not right to everybody else that we required to do it. So again, you know, if that's going to make the project not happen, I'm not going to change my opinion.
Understood. That's why, again, I was trying to be creative so you could still require the sidewalks, but defer when they go in. And so, you know, the Win Stanley project, they could, you know, the margins were such that they could just throw a sidewalk in even if it'll never be used in a million years. Some places we've around a corner lot, and the nature of the use, my client informed me that it was problematic. So I will understand what the chairman's suggesting. I'll spend time with the client and see how it goes. But that's why, you know, I thought there might be a middle ground here where you're not relieving them from doing a parking.
Unfortunately, now, in Stanley, you said margins. Margins means money, right? 'Cause obviously, he has a lot of money. So it didn't matter to him.
Yeah, even blink.
Right. Well, but again, money doesn't come into anything here, you know.
Understood.
To our decision-making. You either have the money or that's not our problem, you know.
No, it would allow for, it's just practically, every place is a little bit different. There's not going to be sidewalks.
We've established this protocol, I would say, or this for many years now.
Yeah, I think it's been 4 years.
And we've been very strict about it, you know, and I don't feel it's fair. And I understand what you're saying, but we can't take into consideration somebody's finances.
Yeah, and my point was not to eliminate the need for the parking, to just modify the conditions so that the time in which that gets installed is a time in which it connects to something, and so.
I don't think that's going to be doable.
Looking to do that, so.
You know, then, like I said, we are relieving a lot of parking. I mean, that's a big savings. Well, we shouldn't talk about money, but that's a big piece, because there was a lot more required, and we have to hear from everybody else if they're okay with that, but we're relaxing the parking requirements.
But we think that's
You know.
consistent with low-impact development, too. I mean, we're trying to reduce impervious areas that are
Right.
just not necessary. So it's
No,
like the
no,
old
we all
parking
wanna-
lot at Enfield Square where you got a zillion
Right,
parking
right.
spaces nobody uses, that because of the nature of this use, it's so few, it's actually consistent.
No, my
with-
point is, we could say no,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so, trying to just give and take a little.
Sure.
I guess, so. Thank you. I think that's all I have. Good.
I just have a quick question. On the human side of this, I see there, and I'm looking at this on Google Earth, there's a bunch of houses and, residences across the street. Have you gotten any feedback from residents as to how they feel about this or anything along those lines?
No, we have not. And like, as I mentioned, we went through the IWWA meeting. There was no, abutters or neighbors there that expressed their concerns, so.
And I would like for anybody else to want to discuss the sidewalks again, to please feel free. I mean, I gave my viewpoint. I mean, you don't have to agree with me, but that's just how I feel we should conduct ourselves.
Mr. Chairman, I would say that, if it's our practice, I think we try to stick with it. So I'd be with you.
And I know, Vinnie, you talked about the sidewalks. My explanation is, you heard what I said, so
And that's what I had basically said earlier. I'm not trying to be hard on him. I know it's a bad situation. It's big, but we're trying to build it up. Once he gets in there, someone else will go, bikers, walkers, maybe they will start to use it, but that's what we've been doing.
Right.
And you're right about the last couple that we've been doing, we made them and there was no question about it. So, do we want to discuss and see, is it up in the air that maybe we consider that if future comes in, that he has to, but then
That's a
again,
bad
that
precedent.
never
We're setting a
happens.
precedent,
That
and then-
never happens.
yeah.
So it doesn't happen. We do it
Right.
now or we don't.
Right.
And I feel that it should be done. Look, staff wouldn't have put it on a piece of paper and asked for a requirement if they didn't feel that I was right too. So.
No, I just want to make sure that, what I expressed was everybody's, because it's us, it's not me, it's us, what we've been doing. Some of you are new, some of you have been here. It's what we've been doing. As a community, it's fair. Staff,
Yeah,
please.
Mr. Chairman, so just as clarification, Section 10.10.7, parking area setbacks and landscaping standards, number 5, a sidewalk not less than 4 feet wide shall be constructed and may be located in either the landscape setback or street right-of-way. So this is not, there is no waiver that we have in our regulations. We don't have a waiver provision. It's a shall.
It's a shall, not a may.
We had the same situation too in 2021 with 3032 Bacon, and the same situation as this property where it's surrounded with no connecting sidewalks, but yet sidewalks became a condition of approval for their final plans. So there's just no written language
got it.
that allows the waiver.
We just don't want you to come away with a bad taste about Enfield doing business here.
No, I complimented, you heard me when I started.
Yeah.
This is a wonderful commission, it's a wonderful staff.
We want to be business friendly. We want,
Right.
that's one of my goals. And, that's just, it is what it is.
Understood. And so we'll work on, see if there's a way that we can make it work on the numbers. So that's when my wheels were spinning in a way in which, given where it is located and what it is, that there might be a creative way to still include that in the approval, but not have it be mandated until such time it connects. But I've heard you all loud and clear that that's not something that you're going to support.
Commissioner D'Antonio, please.
Just on that topic, I just want to add the comment, maybe something we can take back as far as like our planning commission role is, I agree, I personally am definitely very frustrated from, a resident and on the commission about the very incomplete sidewalk network in town. And particularly, these are state roads too, where I think it's particularly sad. I mean, I understand it's not a very dense area, but we should have a connected sidewalk network in town. And I think we need to try as a town to probably work with the state, especially on these state roads, to try to get money for a sidewalk network, kind of outside the project scope. Because, I mean, I get what they're saying, and we've kind of talked about it too. If we're waiting for each project to come along, you know, like, takes 2 years, you know, one lot fills in, 2 years later, then, you know, 3 lots over fill in there, and then there's still a gap. You know, at some point, I think we as the town and, you know, need to work with the state to try to step in and make things happen. So, I mean, as far as the project and regulations go, it's required. But I think we should use this as the motivation point to say, why is there a crosswalk across the street connecting to no sidewalks? It's absurd.
Well, because the state probably requires a crosswalk there, that's probably why.
But doesn't help, but doesn't
You know,
work.
you know
with
the
us to
state,
get
you know
sidewalks.
how I push on the state, you know, I'm on them out, any chance I get, you know how I feel about them spending money up here and
Yep.
doing things, so, I mean, that's another discussion, but.
Right. But as far as the parking, it's crazy to I'm totally good with waiving them, and you know, they have it if the need arises in the future, less paving is good. It's an undoubted good, so I'm all good with the parking.
Commissioner Linsky, please.
I'm good with the parking as well.
Yeah.
You know, as I said, I've used storage facilities, there's a few parking spots, and, you know, you can drive in to your place, and it's not a big deal. So I don't see where you need beaucoup parking spaces at this point. Maybe sometime in the future, you may want to expand it.
And the basin can handle that.
Sure. Yes.
smaller-
Is-
So
you-
it's, you know,
Yeah, you have plenty of space
Right.
there.
it's open space for that purpose, you know.
So I think is there any more comments from staff?
You had something?
Oh, I just wanted to point out for what Commissioner D'Antonio was saying, that the whole purpose way back when was to help promote a more walkable Enfield. And that was for the purpose of future development, future construction. That way one day our sidewalk network will be complete. I just want to point that out.
So, yeah, so I think we're going to have to continue this because we're going to be getting a little more information on elevations, and then probably going to have to show the sidewalks in the landscape buffer.
Yes,
Go
and
ahead.
there's one more
Yep.
thing I forgot to mention for the record. This property is over the aquifer protection area. So the water companies have been notified, but there are certain best management practices that will be applied for construction for this project, just like when Stanley had on 113 North Maple. And it's usually just making sure their stormwater is clean, their catch basins are adequately protected, and there's no oil tanks, whatever, outside.
Are you providing power to each unit? I forgot to ask you that.
Yes.
Okay.
There'll be wall pack. Sorry about that. There'll be wall pack lighting, and we did submit a photometric
Right,
plan.
okay, but I was thinking of relative to like an outlet where somebody can plug in.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Just
We had that
for
discussion
lighting,
la-
for
right.
safety purposes.
Right. We're not wanting anybody rebuilding their cars there.
Exactly. No.
We went around and around about that last time, too.
Yeah, no.
No, this was just recent, too, with our last applicant. We didn't want, you know, people doing those kind of things.
Yeah. Neither does the owner, right?
Yeah. So I gotta ask, though, what is going on in the industry of why are so many self-storage places being
I
constructed?
ask every time we send out a proposal for one.
I mean, it has nothing to do with the application or anything, but I'm just curious. I
They're in
can't
high
believe
demand.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
People
guess they
have a
do.
lot of stuff, yeah.
And it's a low impact. The nice thing about you, perhaps why we're not hearing the question about neighbors, you know, it's an industrial zone, and it's not much of a quieter use than, you know, people coming in and just taking stuff in and out. So that might be a factor of why there isn't opposition.
We just had a town-wide tag sale last week. You know, it's amazing. I can't believe how many of these are coming forward. So there's no really industry answer you have. You don't know, right? You just put them up.
Nope, we just
You
put
don't
them
know
up.
what it
and
is
we-
demographically or anything.
We do the site yeah, and I'm not lying. I've done at least 7 or 8 in the last year.
It's
alone,
unbelievable.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
it is.
yeah.
Wow.
But I can also send the details on the 1% sloping if that would help
Yep.
kind of paint a better picture of how the end result's going to look.
If you could answer everything that came up tonight, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Alinsky has.
Yeah, I meant to ask this, though. But are you going to allow storage of automobiles in that facility?
That would not be allowed with the aquifer protection area.
Okay,
Just
because it is allowed in other storage
That
facilities.
was discussed during our ARTs as well. It was
Yeah.
like
And
they-
with
Okay,
wetlands.
yeah, I was just curious if, okay.
Thus, the outlet, right?
there you go.
Well, yeah, like-
Now the land will work, yeah, that's right. Better be careful that they don't make a new regulation that you have to put an electric charger in each one of those.
I know, yeah.
That would get expensive.
Yeah. We appreciate you being open and coming forward with us tonight.
We
learned-
appreciate
we
you,
both-
Frank, too,
yeah,
and just letting
yeah.
us have a dialogue about that
Absolutely. No,
parking
no,
issue. We
really,
might have
yeah.
liked the idea, given where it actually is, that we might be able to find a creative way around it. You've made it clear to us of what we'll take back to the client, and we'll go forward from there.
Yeah, and then, we'll have another meeting in 2 weeks. I'm sure staff will be working with you throughout that period, get you back on the agenda, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. See you in 2 weeks.
Okay, great. So we're going to make a motion to
I make
table
a
this.
motion to table SPR 1938, Shaker Road and North Maple Street.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So it's been seconded, the motion made, and any discussion?
Who seconded?
Who seconded it? Commissioner Muley.
Somebody on there.
Somebody over there.
Somebody over there. We all have to
Much.
say aye.
Oh, all in favor, yes.
All in
All in favor,
favor?
aye.
Aye.
All in favor, yep, we're all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
I think it was
755 Taylor Road, we did that already, right? So, that one, right? That was North Maple.
Yep.
Now we have, everybody ready to get their paperwork all squared away? Need a minute or so? Or everybody's good? Yeah. This shouldn't be too hard, so, this not be a public hearing?
No.
no.
Well, I just seen, what's
It's-
it? PH 3065ZA.
Right,
113
this-
Brainerd, Mr. Secretary.
Page number 3065ZA, 113 Brainerd Road, zone change request extension for filing zone change from R33 to BR Fast Track Realty LLC. Applicant, John Ferrera, owner, map 36, lot 237, R33.
Staff?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, some of you were not here, so when this actually came in, so at 113 Brainerd Road, they wanted to rezone the adjacent property. This is for the sports complex, Fast Track Realty. And they agreed that they would not file the map of rezone until such time as they got their planning and zoning approval. So they've came in originally May 11th, 2023, with an effective date set at November 30th, 2023. They came in for a 6-month extension, which expires May 30th, 2024, so next week. So they are now asking for an additional 6-month extension to file the rezone to November 30th, 2024.
So I remember.
And they've recently received approval from wetlands.
And that's what I was going to say.
So,
Because, when we did this, the stipulation was due diligence was going to continue.
Right.
Because everybody was waiting about timing. So getting a wetlands permit, to me, is definitely some serious due diligence.
Absolutely.
So I don't see a problem. And anybody else, please, have any comments on this? Linda, anything?
No, I did see that they did get their wetlands approval.
Right.
So this is moving forward.
Yeah, we required that
Yes.
the due diligence had to continue on.
Right.
And to go ahead and, did you guys, Commissioner D'Antoni, you were here at the time, right?
Yep, yeah.
You weren't, so that's, they've gotten their wetlands, but we wanted to make sure that they were, process continued, and so, and John was here, and Walter, did you need an update about this? Yep. Okay, yep, so they're moving forward and they're doing what we asked. So, yeah, so let's take a vote, right? Is there a motion?
So moved that we extend the time limit on public hearing 3065ZA, 113 Brainerd
Mr. Secretary, do you have something to add to this motion?
Yeah, let me, I got something prepared here. I'd like to make a motion to approve an extension of the effective date and filing to November 30th, 2024, public hearing number 3065ZA, zone change from BR 33, or I'm sorry, zone change from R33 to BR, 113 Brainerd Road, Fast Track Realty LLC applicant, John Ferrera, owner, map 36, lot 237, R33.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Orlinski. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Frank Alamo.
4.
Linda DeGray.
4.
Kenneth Zelinski.
4.
Vincent Grillo. 4. Joseph Muley.
4.
Terrence Lynch.
4.
John Petronellis, 4.
Okay, so it's been approved.
7-0.
Okay, that brings us to item 18, applications to be received. Staff, please.
We have no applications being received tonight.
Wow.
The next meeting, we will have applications being received.
Okay. What I did wanted to say, and I forgot it, I'm sorry, I did not hear from Don Poland yet. And I think the week is
I
past that
think
he was
he's
supposed to call
still in
me.
Europe.
There was an email that I seen him. I think the time has passed where I should have received a phone call from him.
Well, I'm sure that he will be calling you.
Okay. I'll double check the email tomorrow. I just,
Okay. He was.
I know
he
it's
was in
not an
Europe
order,
for 2
point of order,
weeks. I
but-
think he's still there.
it's just the memory bank doesn't work that good sometimes. I just remembered it now. So no applications to be received. Well, I was thinking that's going to give us time to do other stuff. Opportunities and unresolved issues. Opportunities and unresolved issues. Executive session. We have none.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Discussion on the motion to adjourn.
Quick.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we stand adjourned.